Hi there, folks. It's Astrid Lenore. Welcome to a brand new format of the podcast, which we are now calling Sympathetic Vibrations. And joining me for the first time is a guest on the podcast. I'd like to introduce you all to Claire B, who has been one of
Hello. Sorry.
Claire. Yeah, no, Claire, introduce yourself by all means.
Yeah, howdy y'all. I'm Claire. I am a human being. I play the guitar. I'm looking forward to having some chats and talking nonsense.
Yeah, Claire has also been working editing magic on my videos, and I truly appreciate that because she's a lot better at it than I am. With that out of the way, this is our first episode, and because we're professional music media creators, then we're covering NAMM like everybody else. So, NAMM, for those of you that don't know, is a giant music expo that happens this time of year every year, and it's a place where new manufacturers get their name out, where established manufacturers kind of introduce their new gear. So it's kind of an exciting time to be a musician and, you know, see what to get excited about and what to start hating on. Um,
Yeah, it's like Christmas for gear. If you're a gamer, it's like our E3, if that still existed. It's E3 but relevant.
yeah, that's a good analogy, actually. It's like E3 10 years ago.
Yep.
So anyway, are we kind of starting at the bottom priority and working our way up here?
Yeah, so we've got the Strandberg Bowden Essential. This is a Strandberg for under $1,000. What?
What? Okay,
Uh, Strandbergs are the super ergonomic guitars. All of them are made in Indonesia, and they still go for like $3,000. Uh,
but you're getting some good features out of that 3000. Some unique features like and people love or hate the neck carve on these things, but it is not a arched, curved boat style neck. There is actually angles to it. There is kind of a flat thumb rest that kind of angles its way as you work its way up the necks. They are headless guitars, at least primarily headless. I think all of them are headless.
I think all of them are headless. I want to play one someday. Like, I think
Yeah.
I could fall in love with it. I don't like the look, but I think I could get into the ergonomics.
Oh, for sure. One of my favorite content creators, who's even older than I am, was adamant Strandberg fan for a while. So I do appreciate their stuff. I'm not crazy about the looks, but the tone is great, and a lot of people seem to like them. So, but sub 1000 Strandberg is actually kind of exciting. Because I mean, you're getting into the territory of like high end Epiphones here. um,
Sure, yeah, the greenie was like what 1200,
yeah,
so
Greeny was
this
more
is
than
in that
that.
kind of range.
Yeah, I think it might have been 15, but yeah. So sub 1000 is actually a really competitive place to put these things out. I mean, you're competing at that point against mainly your off brands, your Squires, your Epiphones, your LTDs. Um, so it'd be interesting to see what people make of these.
I mean, on the flip side, like totally different market, but like you're also competing against like Fender Mexico,
Oh,
and
for
that
sure.
that's a whole lot of guitar for the money.
It
Granted,
is.
totally different kind of uh people that are interested in that, totally different kind of group.
Yeah. Yeah, Fender Mexico is interesting because it's like for people that, want to be a little bit more snobbish than Squire, but not quite USA snobbish.
Yeah.
Or Japan. There's a lot of Fender Japan snobs out there. And those are going for just about as much as the USA ones when you can even get them over here.
Yeah.
So, but that's not what we're talking about right now.
That is not. This Strandberg had bolt-on neck, sculpted Strandberg neck, ergonomic. Uh, it has a zinc bridge and string locks, which some people may not be as pleased about. I don't know what the more. I assume the more expensive ones have a nicer metal for that. Glow-in-the-dark
I
inlays,
believe they
brushed
are
maple
zinc on
neck.
the higher end, but I'm not positive about that.
Let me check that, because that seems a little suspect.
Well, I mean, it's not a common cheap metal to use in bridges. Like, if they wanted to cheap out on it, they make them from steel, right?
Sure.
or brass. A lot of people do, well, not so much these days, but brass was really big back in the day.
Interesting. So just clicking on kind of a random higher end one, and it doesn't even say what it's made of on the bridge.
Okay. So mystery meat in the bridge on the high end Strandbergs, but
Another like standard 25.5 scale length, 20-inch fretboard radius, 24 frets, stainless steel
yeah, I
frets.
mean the stats on paper look, like pretty much your average guitar. Obviously, you look at the thing and you play the thing, and it's not going to be your average guitar.
Yeah. I feel like you're paying for the engineering. If that's your vibe, it could be neat.
I said Strambers give me a very similar vibe to what Parker gave me back in the day. It's like the looks are definitely quirky. I can see the advantages that they have, you know, which begs the question. I mean, are they going to end up like Parker and just go out of business because people aren't interested in something that off the wall?
Yeah, I don't know. To be a young person, Parkers have a little riz. I don't know if Strandberg has that quite same kind of charisma factor.
I mean, the vibes I'm getting off of it are similar to the vibes I got off of Parker back in the day. Now that was a different person in different times, so make of that what you will. I'm not predicting, nor am I wishing the company's downfall. I'm
Oh
just kind of
no.
curious what the long term market for these things is going to be.
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely not my world. I am not technical enough to like care.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's cool for the people who like it.
Yeah.
I've been watching a lot of videos about more ergonomic guitars because I think it's just a completely different world from what I'm used to. Like,
Oh, for
this is
sure.
the opposite of the Jazz Master, but also kind of the same in a way.
I think if we're going opposites, it's the opposite of the Les Paul.
Sure. But a Les Paul, like, is for what you give it for, it's stable. I
Yeah.
feel like you're fighting along with an offset a little bit more. Where this like there's no fight in a Strandberg. You're just shredding.
Yeah. Exactly. It's just meant to be there and be a tool for you to make music on, which I can respect that. Cut out all the fat. And yeah, some people that are traditional guitar players aren't going to buy them, but I think there's a market for people that will, and that seems to have proven itself, considering how many people are talking about these things.
Yeah. Should we move
Yeah,
on
let's
then?
let's let's move on. I want to take one off of my list here, just because I have up. Sorry, I lost my place in chat here. Okay, there we go. Um, so I have a few non-guitar related things here because I'm interested in that. The one that actually probably most caught my eye was Mackie has a new, basically PA in a box. Like this is a setup for like if you're a solo musician playing small clubs or busking or whatever, and it's essentially looks like a speaker on a stand, but you basically have a built-in mixer that you can then take off of the thing and mount onto a mic stand if you want to have your controls right in front of you. I believe it's battery powered, so like it's all set up and ready to go for you. Mackie has a pretty good reputation, so I'm kind of curious to see how those things perform.
Yeah, it seems really neat. Do you have the model name on there? Is this the
It is called
Showbox?
the Showbox. Yes. Sorry, I could not
Okay.
remember the name for the life of me.
Yeah, it's interesting how far we're coming from like I remember seeing buskers with like the Roland Cube and that was
Hmm.
like huge. And but this seems a lot more user friendly. I like that there's the controls on the mic stand. That looks really neat.
Yeah, that does look really neat. I'm sorry you brought up the rolling cube. It just for some reason made me think of the little doofy oval fender ones. You know the ones I'm talking about?
I don't think I know those
Okay,
ones.
so they basically were this kind of like flat top oval, kind of football
Mhm.
shape, and the one side was the speaker and the other side was the mixer, and you would like clip them together and carry them around like that. It was a decent idea,
Huh.
but it was kind of gimmicky. But um, so, and obviously the PA in a box situation is not for everyone. I would say even not for your average musician. Typically, people are either plugging into somebody else's PA or they're playing acoustic, one or the other. But there is and there has been a market for them.
Yeah, like buskers are definitely a class of musician. Like people sometimes people need their own sound system, and I think it
Yeah.
that looks like a cool product for that kind of musician.
Well, I think this is something that also like potentially small coffee shops and things like that might pick up to use as a house PA that doesn't take up too much space. Would be good for
Sure.
that too.
Wow, imagine a coffee shop where they actually want you to still spend time in there.
Yeah, well, I mean, imagine a coffee shop that isn't a Starbucks. But
Yeah.
like most of the good ones around here have just been put out of business just so they can't compete. And we had some awesome ones, like really cool. There was one in few miles from here that basically they had like cups the size and shape of soup bowls, and then they had like a bunch of like old board games that you could just bring out and play while you drank your coffee. It was great.
That's amazing.
Oh yeah.
Back when I lived in the States, I worked at a board game cafe, and it was a
Mm,
very similar vibe.
yeah. But it seems to kind of be a dying breed. Like at least around here, like people are just too much get up and go. We don't want to sit in one place. We want to get our coffee and get out of here.
Things are good up and go. Economy's weird. I mean, COVID definitely was kind of the nail in the
Yeah.
coffin of like the coffee shop as a third place.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, COVID just did a number on just the industry in general.
Everything.
Yeah, but yeah. So before we start to get on the depressing COVID track here, um, let's go to Aeroband.
Aeroband. Aeroband makes terrible MIDI guitars, but they think that their new software will make it a little bit better.
I mean, they're one in a long illustrious line of crappy MIDI guitars. So
I think these are particularly bad. There's a internet fiasco a few months ago with them sending their product to all sorts of creators and then threatening legal action. Seems like a mess. Uh, I don't think they're really to be trusted. I wouldn't give them any money, even if they claim their software's better. The demo I saw online was not much to write home about.
yeah, and I have full disclosure. I have not watched said demo, but there's very few MIDI guitars that I get excited about, and usually they're the old school ones that don't even try to sound like a guitar.
Those old school Casio MIDI guitars are so cool.
Yeah, or like the
I
Rolands.
Yes, I saw a broken Casio one for like $50 on Facebook, and I got so close to buying it, but I was like, I'm not gonna be able to fix this.
Yeah, if it's broken and like I don't even know if you could find components for that anymore.
No, it would just be to hang on the wall because those look cool.
They do look cool. As a wall decoration for $50, I could see doing that, even if there's no chance of getting it working.
Anyway, don't buy an Aeroband. No one's listening to this enough to sway their purchasing opinions, but don't buy this, please.
Yeah, please don't. Especially with the kind of business that the company seems to be doing. That's not something you want to support. Like not to be on a soapbox here, but I firmly believe in supporting companies that are run well and don't threaten their customers.
Honest.
I was going to move up your list actually because this is one I'm kind of excited about and is brand new to me. I haven't actually seen any footage of this thing yet. So it's the Jack White Donner pedal and DIY kit.
Yeah, here I'll ship you that link.
We did our homework here, folks.
Uh-huh. So this is the Third Man Hardware Triple Threat by Donner. It is 3 effects in one: an echo, a phaser, and a distortion. And then the Third Man Hardware Fuzzatron.
Yeah, some version of this has been around for a while. I remember seeing this on somebody's channel and being pretty impressed by it.
Yet it's a reskin of 3 circuits that supposedly Jack White liked and maybe tweaked a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's I feel kind of complicated about this because like it feels in the realm of like budget Amazon pedals that you could get for a lot cheaper and get more, or compared to like a modeler, like I don't know what the market for a $100 3-in-1 pedal is.
For being in the Donner range, and like, don't get me wrong, I love Donner. I use their stereo tape delay to this day, and their noise gate. But yeah, those are pricey for Donner pedals. And I realize that most of what you're paying for is the name, and there are, I think, some tweaks to the circuit. You're right, particularly the fuzz or whatever. I think it's a fuzz in there, not a distortion.
Yeah,
But
it's
in
a
any
distortion.
case,
I'm sure you can get some fuzz tones out of it.
yeah.
It's Jack White. You're gonna get some fuzz.
But it gives you the Jack White tone, insofar
Yeah.
as it goes, and insofar as your instrument and sound chain and playing allow that to happen.
Yeah. Now, if they wanted to do like one of these, but then slap a knockoff whammy pedal on the end, now we're talking. That would be worth $100.
That'd be great. I'd go for the Roto Vibe though. But I'm wacky that way.
Mhm.
Now, I'm really just quick side note. I think that people should be doing a lot more with expression pedal type effects, and I think who was it? Somebody famous came out with a line of them fairly recently. Oh, it was Ernie Ball. Because of course it was
the
them.
Ernie Ball, Zach Wild ones. Is that the new Rotovibe?
No, this wasn't a Rotovibe thing, but there was a tremolo. There was a I think a delay, a reverb, and some kind of fuzz or distortion, as I recall. But they were, basically set up to where you could. I think some of them you could even change what parameter the pedal sweep affected. They were really cool.
Oh, cool.
But I realize that's a lot of space on most people's boards, and most people don't really use that kind of feature, so.
Yes, I was right about the Rotovibe though. Another NAMM announcement is a Zach Wild Rotovibe for $400.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're not paying for Zach Wild's name.
Nope. I love bullseyes. It's everything I need.
Yep.
Bullseyes on everything.
I mean, you also have like the lightning patterns or whatever the other one is. I forget. There's something that's designed to either hypnotize you or make you dizzy. I love Zach Wild. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, it's like you could slap a bullseye paint job on a budget Les Paul and pretty much have a Zach Wild guitar.
Yep.
Probably swap the pickups out. Doesn't he an EMG guy?
I think so. Metal is not my forte. I just kind of know him as the camo bullseye guy.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh, camo was the other thing he did. Yeah, because nobody can see your guitar when it's camo.
Whoa.
Okay, well, while we're on flashy guitars, I've been very impressed the past couple years with a smaller company called Cream Guitars, and these are basically a resin top guitar, and what they do is they will create three-dimensional tops by embedding things in that resin. So there's one that they did that had like all kinds of like Day of the Dead memorabilia and just basically random knickknacks just embedded in the tops of these guitars. Sometimes it was just like big glitter flakes, but very impressive looking. They have a reverse Explorer, which I love. And I don't know, are you familiar?
Yes, these are so cool. I think they're fascinating. There's one I've got pulled up right here that looks like it's full of little patterned erasers, like flowers and smiley faces and all sorts of stuff. That's so cute.
Yeah, and I love that they're a company that doesn't take themselves too seriously to do stuff like that.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a market for it or not. I want to see more femininity in guitars. Like,
Sure.
you had Daisy Rock back in the day. I think the new St. Vincent, newish St. Vincent guitar is kind of a cool, like, ergonomic femininity thing, but I want to see more guitars for girls.
For sure. And, Gibson has done kind of a nod to that. I think they have like a Goddess series or something like that. And, of course, let's not forget the Hello Kitty Strat.
Hello Kitty Strat is great.
Oh,
And
yeah.
there's the new Epiphones that are a little thinner and lighter.
Yeah.
And they come in like kind of jewel tones. Those are really cool.
Yeah.
I didn't really like the way they played though.
Well, I think also, marketing guitars to women is a complicated issue because many women take offense to the fact that, like, oh, what, we're not good enough for the real thing. you know, like you have to market something separate to us. I'm not in that camp at all, but I can see how people would object to it.
I see it, but then on the flip side, we have the guy we were just talking about. You got your Zach Wild camo guitar, like that's a
Mm-hmm.
guitar or for dudes. Like you
Yeah.
gotta be a macho man to wanna to want a camo guitar. Like there should be a little balance in there too.
And I mean, music in general, guitar in particular, has been a boys' club for a long, long time. And
Yes.
it's even in the modern day, it's rough on a female musician, especially one that wants to be taken seriously without showing too much skin.
Sure.
So it's a interesting conundrum. I would like to see more stuff. Maybe not necessarily marketed toward women, but with features that are more accessible to thinner necks and lighter bodies, things like that. That just somebody that's a smaller frame in general, whether that's a woman or whether that's a younger child or middle. That'd probably be like an adolescent to teenager at that point, but because they do make children's guitars and they're pretty much a joke. But it's good as an intro instrument, I guess.
There should be more accessibility everywhere. I lean more on the marketing side. I give me give me more pretty guitars and not just like, oh, flame maple is pretty. Give me something that's kind
Yeah,
of cute and quirky
yeah,
and something that your macho man guitar player is gonna
yeah,
scoff at.
yeah. We don't need a Harley Davidson flame paint job on every guitar,
No.
says the person with a flame paint job on a guitar. But still, I also have a pink guitar to my credit.
Back on the cream guitars, do you have anything more you want to talk about them, or just kind of highlighting that they're doing something really cool and unique?
Uh, I'm very curious because I'm not sure I've ever seen anybody actually play a cream guitar. See a lot of pictures, a lot of video, highlighting their gorgeous tops and stuff like that. So I'm wondering how they actually sound and play. It doesn't look like electronically they're taking too much in the way of risks. Looks like they're more or less the standard circuits on them.
It's standard circuits. It looks. I'm looking at a turnaround here. I mean, the neck heel looks nice. Like that looks comfortable, but it does
Mm-hmm.
just kind of look like a bolt-on guitar neck.
Sure.
I wonder how they balance.
Mm-hmm.
The Explorer one seems alright. The other one that has this big top horn seems like it could be kind of weird and a little unwieldy.
I think in general it's better to have a long horn than a short horn. But
Hmm.
if it's extreme like that, yeah, I could see it being, basically just wanting to like sit too far to the left on your body or to the right on your body.
Hmm.
Um, but I will say most likely with the resin tops, there's a good deal of heft to them, so probably neck dive's not going to be a concern on these things. But and I'm not sure what they're doing with the rest of them. I think it's like a 3/4 inch to an inch of resin, and then just kind of standard wood underneath is what they do with them. I'm not. Don't quote me on that.
Sure, I mean the resin tops are generally custom, so you could probably get whatever you want
Oh,
if you're
for
willing to
sure.
pay
Yeah,
for it.
yeah, yeah. I just think it's a unique brand that's kind of got their own style, and that we're not seeing as much of that these days as we maybe should. So want to applaud them for that. But that's my final thoughts on Cream.
You want to do some signatures?
Yes, let's talk signatures. Let's talk another Van Halen signature guitar.
Well, this is a different Van Halen.
Fair, fair.
So this is the SA126 from EVH Guitars. This is young Wolfgang. It's his uh, brand new signature guitar. It's cool because it's like a shreddy semi hollow.
I always love a shreddy semi hollow.
Uh, so it's got the kind of Wolfgang shape, but it's got a bigger butt and it's semi hollow. It's got a harmonica bridge, which I think is really neat. But then it's supposed to have this like very slim, fast, modern neck, so you can still do your widdly widdly woos on it.
These honestly remind me a lot of like some designs that I was playing around with just on paper, like when I was a teenager. So I mean, I'm into the shape. I'm into the slightly larger semi hollow body. It's nowhere near jazz box territory, but it's definitely got a little more heft than your standard It looks to me to be larger than a Les Paul in the lower bout for sure. At least as
Oh,
far
it
as
looks
width
like a
goes.
big guitar. Like there's this
Yeah.
picture of Wolfgang, and he's not a small man, and it looks
No,
decent on him.
it's a good size for his figure. And as a person that tends to buy big guitars for the exact same reason, no, I totally get it.
No, it's a good look. I don't hate it.
Yeah. No, I like the looks, and so this is
We don't really know much else about it.
and this is an EVH brand. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yes.
So pickups on those. I mean, if you're into the shreddy kind of stuff, they tend to be really good pickups. They tend to be pretty reliable guitars. I think that was one of the reasons that the company was founded in the first place, was to like make stuff that was less crap.
Yeah. Because Eddie had all sorts of issues with licensees through the years.
For sure, for sure. And to be fair, the first guitar he threw together was kind of crap, even though it was amazing crap.
Yeah.
So I talk, of course, of the famous Frankenstrat, but I do find it's I'm sure going to be confusing for people, particularly as the years go on in the used market, as like everybody's going to mix this up with the actual Eddie Van Halen Wolfgang model.
Yes. Well, there's a funny. I watched some coverage on this, and there's a funny thing about it. Eddie's guitar was the Wolfgang. The SA-126, I
Mm-hmm.
believe, has to do is a reference to Eddie. So Wolfgang named his guitar after his dad, and his
Hmm.
dad named the guitar after him.
That's that's amazingly wholesome, actually. That's sweet.
Yeah.
Like, good on you, Van Halen family.
Yeah, I mean, these are super cool. They will probably be out of my price range. I'd love it if they put out one like under $500 so I could throw some P90s in or something. I think that'd be really
Yeah,
cool. But I have
yeah.
a feeling I
P90s would be
probably,
great on that.
yeah,
Or mini hums. Mini hums would be awesome too.
mini hums would be cool.
But see, now we're getting into less Van Halen style guitars.
Yeah, this is just this body looks cool. Let me do something completely different.
Oh, and it looks like the kind of platform that people could mod out easily. I'm wondering, is there any pictures of the back of this thing to see if it has like a control plate, or if it's a standard semi-hollow where everything has to be wired through the hole?
I would hope it's a control plate. It is a bolt-on neck, so I feel like that
Yeah, it's
might
probably
help
a
with
control plate. Considering there's no F hole in the lower bout, you'd have to fish everything through the top if that was the case.
yeah, I don't know how you'd even really do that.
People get incredibly inventive with this stuff. I've watched it done on videos a couple times, and they'll like put like basically run a fishing line through and then like pull everything through that way, kind of thing. Um, it's something else. Anybody that works on jazz box style guitars, like my hat is off to you. I would lose my patience in about 5 minutes trying to do that stuff.
Sounds very frustrating. I doubt this is the case. I think it would be hilarious if there was no access and it's just like, yeah, this is my signature guitar. You can't mess with it. Try and modify this. This is mine.
Yeah, but I think I mean, assuming that people latch onto this, and I think people will. I think like I imagine this is going to grab a similar audience to like your Ibanez Art Core. Um,
Sure.
and those are good mod platforms as well. But I mean, you can take anything that's got that dual humbucker 4 knob setup, and there's a lot of things you could do with it. I could see people taking off the tailpiece, running like a tremolo system on this thing.
For sure.
There's just all kinds of options. Actually, this would look sweet with a tailpiece tremolo.
That would look great. I wonder what they'll do if the line will expand, if they'll have one with a tremolo, what kind of tremolo it will be, or if they'll
Mm-hmm.
just kind of stick with this kind of basic model.
Yeah, I imagine it would be some kind of surface mount one because they don't want to compromise the body too much by routing through it.
Yeah.
But yeah, who knows? I mean, it looks like. Also, is there a carve to this, or is that a flat top? I think there's a little carve to it, isn't there?
Uh, the one that's in the photo looks like there's a slight carve. There's another one that looks more like a product mock-up that I can't quite tell if there's a
Mm-hmm.
carve, and that looks like a more basic model.
Yeah, I think there is a carve to that one too, but it's hard to tell with the solid color like that.
Yeah.
Um,
let's move on to our other
Yes,
signature.
yeah, yeah.
We've got
Let's
some
stop
reverends.
fangirling over that. Yeah.
Billy Corgan, who knows? Who cares? Chris Freeman of Hot Mulligan has this really sweet Reverend double agent. I always get their model names confused. It's got a P90. It's got what's this? Are these the Railhammer
It's
humbuckers?
sounds right. Yeah, but they're the ones that kind of have the look of a wide range, except one side is a rail.
Yes. And this has two kill switches. It's got a momentary square kill switch, and then it's got like a toggle if you need something longer or more sustained,
Okay, okay.
which I think is just very neat. I think those switches could be used for something a little more interesting, but I do think it's very funny that there's two kill switches on this instrument.
Yeah, that's amazing. And they're right next to each other. It's not like you got
Yep.
one that's easier to get with your thumb or whatever. But
Nope.
they are in a good position, kind of down, maybe an inch and a half below the neck pickup. So good for tapping with your index finger or whatever. Um,
If I was really strumming, I think I'd cut my finger on that square kill switch.
yeah, if you strum high, that might be a problem. Um, but overall, and I say this for most Reverend products, I dig the look and the fact that they don't look like other guitars. Um,
Yes.
you see some hints of stuff. Obviously, you've got Strat in the headstock. You've got a little bit of Telly, a little bit of Jazzmaster in the body of this thing. You've got at least on this particular example, you've got a gorgeous turquoise sparkle finish with the nice pick guard there. Not so sure about the swoop around the switch, but it works for
Oh,
some
I
people.
think that's cool because it's like an implied telly plate.
Yeah, it is. It is. I can see that. Yeah, no, that actually works a lot better now that I look at that. But yeah, the combination of that rail hammer and the P90 has got to be great. I personally would go the other way around with it, but I'm weird that way.
People like the bridge humbucker. Everyone wants a bridge humbucker.
I don't.
I know that you
My
don't. I think like an ideal combination is like telly bridge and some sort of humbucker in the neck. I think
Oh,
that's about where
absolutely,
I'd
like
want to
Keith
be.
Richards style. Yeah,
Yeah, but this looks all right.
yeah. No, this looks great. This looks like a very and being Reverend, it's probably very playable. Little pricey, but I mean that comes with the territory.
This is listing for 1400. So yeah, a
That's
little
actually
pricey,
not
but
bad.
for a signature model with these features, I think that's okay.
That's in your Fender
And that's
USA
list.
range.
That's not what
It's
street
not
value
like
will
they're
be.
these super rare boutique guitars or Paul Reed Smith or anything. But yeah, no, I enjoy that. If I had that kind of money to throw at another guitar, I'd be seriously considering it.
Sure, it'd be on the short list.
It's amusing to me not to beat a dead horse here, but to have this style of a guitar with a kill switch is just it brings a smile to my face because it does not look like a shreddy guitar.
No, but it's like I haven't listened to Hot Mulligan in a while. I forget exactly what they sound like, but in the little blurb it says for Midwest emo aficionados, and I definitely see if
Mm-hmm.
you're
Yeah,
doing some like weird tuning tapping stuff and then you want a kill
sure.
switch, I think that would sound really cool.
Yeah, it would. And of course, kill switches give you all kinds of alternative wiring options and everything too. If you don't want a kill switch, like you could have it turn your tone on and off kind of thing.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm always thinking about the wiring on these things.
I get that. Do you want to talk about these guilds? Do you want to talk about something from yours? Do you want to talk about Oz or
Yeah, let's.
Microcorg?
I mean, it's been a while since we revisited my list. So,
Yeah.
oh, okay. So let's talk Microcorg too. And this is for those of you that are analog synth aficionados like myself, has been kind of one of your classics, the Microcorg One, or just the Microcorg if you prefer. And they have recently released a upgraded version of it. It's got better sound engine. It's got more vocal processing software to deal with that goofy internal microphone that works as a vocoder. There's now more options for that. So they look really cool.
This looks like it's a blast. I know nothing about synthesizers. I can't play the piano, but I if you know what you're doing, this looks like a ton of fun.
Yeah. And the whole idea with the microsynth, and I think they've been pretty faithful to it here, is to take that all that complicated analog synth stuff and kind of put it into a small user friendly package to where it's easily accessible. You don't have to fiddle around with a bunch of knobs and menus to get your sound right. And it has some amazing, like semi-Moog style tones to it. Yeah, I haven't really heard much of the new one, but the old one was just all over the place. Everybody loved that one. So it's kind of exciting to see them revisiting that, and I'm kind of curious what hardcore synth people, which I am not because I don't play keys very well, but I'm kind of curious to see what they'll make of it.
Sure, yeah, it'll be cool to see how this platform evolves and what musicians will do with it.
Yeah, I wish I had more to say about that, but as I said, I'm kind of somewhat keyboard illiterate, but that one grabbed my attention.
You want to talk about these vintages, or just skip to the sire?
I'm going to need a link for the vintages. I kind of do want to talk about them.
Yeah, let's go through these real quick, because this is like what I'm the most excited about, but I know it's
for
not
sure.
for
Yeah,
everybody.
no, let's do it. Oh yes, no, I remember actually. You showed me some of these a while ago.
Yeah, so these have been on my radar for a while. There was a video going around of this Surfmaster with 4 pickups. I'm talking about the new Vintage Revo line. Vintage is a cool brand, I think. I don't really know anything about the people behind it, but they make neat guitars. They've been around for forever, but they're mostly in Europe. With this new Revo line, we have very, I would say, kind of like Fender pawn shop kind of vibes.
Yeah,
You've
kind
got
of.
mix match parts. You've got Strats with Jag plates. You've got a Telly with 3 Jazzmaster pickups. You have some semi-hollow Jaguars. Like, it's crazy stuff if
Which
we want
I
to kind of go
love.
through this
Like,
line.
everybody needs to make a thin line Jaguar, and I do want to say that the body shapes are pretty vintage accurate for those for people that are concerned about that stuff. Obviously, you have a slightly modified headstock so they don't get sued by Fender, but the configurations on these things, like you said, you got the 4 pickup Jaguar style guitar. You've also got a thin line Jaguar that has 2 Gretsch style pickups in it, which I'm very curious about those.
Those look really cool.
And they come in a 12 string. At least the 4 pickup one does.
Yeah, that 12 string looks sweet.
Yeah, the world needs more electric 12 strings. Oh, that's only a 3 pickup. Interesting.
It is weird. You get 6 extra strings, but you get 1 less pickup.
That's fine. I think most people are going to be happy with 3.
Sure.
4 is nice, but I'm sure it's a learning curve because you don't really have a middle pickup per se. You have almost like 2 humbuckers, but they're a little bit separated.
Yeah, I wonder how the switching exactly works on that. It looks just like 4 on-offs, but there's also a varitone thing.
Yeah, I'm positive it's 4 on off. The varitone, probably that's what it is. Probably it just
Yes.
picks from different capacitors on your tone and changes your tone that way.
I've got the PDF with the controls, and it's 4 on-offs and then a standard varitone and volume and tone.
So no strangle switch unless you put one in aftermarket, but you can't have everything.
I mean, does the varitone might work strangle switch-esque?
Well, the strangle switch works a little differently than your standard baritone. Is just pretty much it changes the capacitor that goes to ground on your tone knob. The strangle switch is kind of the inverse of that. It runs the entire signal through that capacitor and into the hot. So
Okay.
it's bleeding out all your bass frequencies essentially.
Gotcha.
And it's something that realistically not a lot of players use in modern music, but I find it's a really cool feature that you can't get on that many guitars.
For sure. The strangle switch sound is cool. Like, I don't know what I would use it for, but I do like to listen to it.
Yeah, yeah, it's really good for like the jangly doo-wop kind of stuff, and it's good for I mean, if you boost the signal on it, because it will make your guitar quieter, but it's kind of good for kind of solo tones that are a little bit more harsh and kind of stand out in the mix because of that.
Sure.
So, but yeah, I am very very excited about these Revo. I'm hoping that they're going to market them here in the States at some point because I am very very tempted by a lot of these guitars.
They were at NAMM. Like they had a booth there. I saw their
Yeah,
booth.
that's true.
Uh, but I don't know like why they're there if they're mostly marketing here in Europe and England or
Yeah.
UK or whatever.
I mean, maybe they're gauging U.S. response to it.
I hope so. I hope more people get these cuz they make a cool guitar.
Mm-hmm.
The one that I'm the most excited about is this neck through Integra. It looks like a Jazzmaster made by
Oh
Alembic
yeah,
with two rail humbuckers.
that's crazy. It has Firebird vibes to it too, because it's got like
Yeah,
the kind of dual pick guards outside of the pickups and the stripes.
yes. I got to get my hands on one of these. I got to play it at least. I
Those look very cool.
It speaks to me in a deep way that I can't explain.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if there's other finishes on that. That would look really cool with like a stain on it as well.
They're showing all the finishes for everything else, so I think it's just this one.
It's just that one. I mean, not that it's probably a super huge deal to strip off and refinish something like that. I mean, it's just basically one giant slab of wood.
Yeah, and it says it's a satin finish, so it should be easy enough to hopefully sand that off if that's your
Yeah.
deal.
But I mean, honestly, the natural wood, I've got zero complaints about that. I would rock that.
I like that look. I like these kind of weird 70s looking natural finish guitars.
Yeah. It does. That's the other thing it reminds me of is the 70s BC Rich.
Yes,
Like, not so much the shape of it, but the vibe of it.
for sure.
Anyways, we're geeking out about this guitars in case you listeners couldn't tell.
One more geek. We got a 28-inch baritone semi-hollow with a Jazzmaster trem.
Oh my gosh. That would be probably a fairly easy base 6 conversion if you guys are into that kind of thing. 28 is 2 inches shorter than your standard base 6, but I'm sure you can make it work with thicker strings.
Base 6 E string is so floppy anyway. I don't know if I'd want to tune that to E.
Yeah, I've played around with the idea of stringing up some baritone strings on there and seeing how it sounds that way, but there are a lot of aftermarket strings that solve that problem too, and I can't remember the name of the one that's been recommended, but basically if you go online and you look for solution to floppy base 6 strings, you'll come up with that company. Um, but as I said, I haven't tried it, so I don't know how well it works or doesn't work. But in any case, I mean, baritones, especially baritones with tremolo, like,
It's cool. I'm into it.
I also want to say, like, you know, we're going to have things to say about Strat style guitars, but they do have a Strat style guitar that has the Jaguar 3 toggle switches on it, which I love.
Yeah, that one looks sweet, and the finish on that one is really cool too. It's like almost
Yeah.
Antigua.
Yeah, but darker edges.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's like a 3-tone Antigua burst or something like that.
That's cool. It's just the least interesting in the line. Like,
But the
Strats.
least interesting thing in their lineup is probably more interesting than the most interesting thing in a lot of company lineups. That's my point.
Yes, I'm definitely there with you.
Yeah. So, I guess we're moving on, huh?
Let's move on. Let's talk about a company that makes really good Strat style guitars, Sire, and their Larry Carlton line. They have so many new guitars this year.
Well, they really do.
We got a bunch of Jazz Masters. We've got quiet acoustics. We've got some junior styles. We've got semi-hollow tellies. We've got this weird Dan Electro kind of thing. They're going crazy. I don't
Yeah.
understand why they still have Larry Carlton's name on all of these. Like, I don't know if he's playing all these, but they sure look cool.
Not all of them. Some of them are Marcus Miller.
Those are the basses. We're not talking
Well,
basses.
I'm looking at a Marcus Miller telly right now.
Really?
Yeah. It's just a pretty standard looking telly, although it is white with a torque guard. And of course the roasted maple neck. Most Sire guitar, well, a lot of Sire guitars do come with the roasted maple necks, and I believe the stainless steel frets.
I think that's pretty standard in their line. They do have some lower price point ones that may not. Let me do some digging.
But yeah, I mean, let y'all for if you've been under a rock and haven't heard of Sire guitars, they make primarily copies, but they do them really well. They do a lot of good appointments, like the roasted maple, like the stainless steel, and these guitars are primarily in the 300 to about 1300 range. A lot of stuff around the 500 range within this lineup, which is not too bad when you compare it to, a lot other guitars with similar features on them.
Sure, I think Larry himself was quoted as saying it's a Squire killer, and to a lot of people it is.
I mean, look at the name.
Yes.
I mean, Squire is the guy that works for the knight, and Sire is the guy that the knight works for.
One of the more exciting ones is the Jazzmaster. Look at the trem on this Jazzmaster.
Hang on, I just paged away from it.
It's the J5. So
Oh
it's their
yeah,
higher
no, that's
end.
What does that remind me? That reminds me of the Brian May trem. Is what that reminds me of.
It's
Except it's got the Jazzmaster style base plate.
let me see. Yes, it's a collaboration with Goldo, who make the Duesenberg trams. So it's like in that kind of style of function.
Yeah, I think I have seen that on Duesenberg's. Now that you mention it.
Wish I had a rhythm circuit. Why are you so afraid of the rhythm circuit, everybody?
Like literally, like even a lot of your old school signature models like do away with the rhythm circuit.
Or like,
I'm looking at you, Johnny Marr.
yeah, just give me the rhythm circuit. I like a rhythm circuit. I like a lot of fuzz on the rhythm
They are,
circuit. It's a
and
good
they're
tone.
so much fun. And if you really don't use the rhythm circuit, there's so much you can use that for. I mean, you could basically set up a Jazzmaster as a Les Paul style guitar if you wanted to, with the volume and tone for each pickup.
Worst case scenario, it's a kill switch.
Yeah,
And we know that some people need two of those.
that's what I love about these offset guitars is that I mean, there's just so many options, both in wiring and how you set them up, and
Jazzmasters are so cool. Offsets are so cool.
I like their Cabernita style telly too. That's an interesting take on that.
Yeah, that looks really sweet. What wood is that on the top?
Looks like, gosh, it looks almost like it might be oak.
It is a swamp ash top.
Oh,
That
swamp
looks
ash,
that looks
very
cool.
nice. Oh my gosh. Speaking of things more guitars need to be made of,
Yeah,
I realize there's restrictions and all that good stuff, but swamp ash. Back in the day, I missed a golden opportunity. I thought about buying a swamp ash guitar with a translucent finish, and I didn't do it. And nowadays, like that would be worth some money.
yeah. I wonder if there's something they could do, like how there's flame maple but veneer. I wonder if you could do a swamp ash veneer and it would look alright. So you could kind of preserve the wood that's there, but
Yeah, it probably would look better than the flame maple veneers because the flaming depends so much on the depth, and you really
yeah,
don't get that with a veneer. But swamp ash is pretty much just you're seeing the surface grain, so I imagine it would work pretty well. I've just never seen it implemented.
I guess there's not the market for it where like flame maple's like the premium feature for some reason.
Yeah, and I don't know why people have been stuck on flame maple for so long. Yeah, it's pretty. I think I mean, if you're going for original, go for like a quilt or a spalted maple. They have really cool, or a bird's eye. When was the last time you saw, apart from Nex, when was the last time you saw bird's eye maple on a guitar?
Sure, that would look sweet. I'm kind of a sucker for burl. Like I know a lot of
Burl's
it's
great.
very divisive, but I like it
No, I like all that rustic stuff. Like if you have big old knots in your guitar wood and stuff like that, it just adds character.
for sure.
Um, the other thing I want to touch on with the Sire line that stood out to me is the H7T, which is kind of a 335 style, slight Gretsch vibes to it, especially with the pickups, and then it's got a Bigsby style tailpiece on it.
It almost looks like kind of like a 70s Japanese semi-hollow. Like it's got like a weird kind of off-kilter look to it.
Especially with that cherry burst finish, it's got kind of that, like the kind of finish Gibson fans would consider ugly, but I consider very cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, Gibson, we love you.
Gibson, you're fine.
Yeah, we're, send us
Gibson,
stuff.
yeah, Gibson, you can pay me to like you.
Yeah. Give me my signature Firebird, and then I'll like you. Anyways, have we said enough about Sire?
I think we said enough. We're an hour in. Let's move on to the big topic.
To the big topic. Ladies and gentlemen, drum roll, please. We're going to talk the $3,000 Pacifica redesign.
$3,000 for Pacifica. Looks fine. Like, I know Pacifica,
It's a Pacifica.
has a history of being like a high-end guitar, but it's a Strat and it's $3,000.
Yeah. A Pacifica has a history, more specifically, of being kind of a player Strat, to where they kind of, a lot of people feel like they fixed a lot of the Strat problems with the Pacifica, but of course, being a Yamaha, they never really caught on mainstream as much. I'm not saying they didn't have mainstream success. It's Yamaha's most popular guitar, at least as far as electrics go. But they did do a redesign on it, which is, first of all, the thing that I'm really stoked about this, and the thing that to me might make it worth that $3,000 price tag, is they chambered the body. And I'm thinking, given the time this is coming out, that they're probably taking the technology they put into the RevStar, which is chambered in a specific way to where it's going to actually enhance your sound quality instead of just making your guitar lighter.
Yes.
So I'm excited about that.
It looks very RevStar-esque. It's interesting how little chambering there is, that I wonder how much it actually affects, or if it's just there to like throw another buzzword on their spec sheet.
Yeah, I think the concept, at least with the RevStar, was that it's supposed to kind of focus the way that the sound waves travel through the instrument. And how well that works or doesn't work.
I get it with the RevStar. The RevStar makes sense. This Pacifica is just like, there's a little H and a little F, and it's just right on the kind of bottom horn.
That's a little odd.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it may be a gimmick. I will say the other interesting thing that they've done with these, go back to my notes here real quick. Yes, I took notes on this guitar.
Whoa.
Which I cannot find now, but there is, oh, here we go. So the pickups in these things are actually the first ever designed by Rupert Neve of Pro Audio fame. So that was an interesting choice. Obviously, they're bringing a big name in here, but he's essentially starting at ground zero with guitar pickups. So be interested to hear how these actually sound.
For sure. I wonder if they'll be too hi-fi, or if they'll be kind of like exactly what you need.
I imagine they're going to kind of be more or less a moderate take on a pickup, to where they're not too harsh, and they're not too high output, and they're not too weird and trebly, they're not too weird and bassy. I imagine it's going to be a good mid-range focused pickup, but not as quacky as a standard Strat.
Sure. Yeah, I wonder what that position 2 or 4, I forget how it's oriented, will sound like on this guitar. The neck and middle.
And of course it's an HSS, so you're not going to get that, standard bridge and middle pickup like you would on a triple single coil Strat. Yeah. Although I think the humbucker is splittable, right? Probably.
I would sure hope so.
Yeah. But split humbuckers are never going to sound like a single coil Strat pickup. Seymour Duncan comes close with a Stag Mag, but, that one doesn't really sound as much like a humbucker, so.
Yeah. So, weird take. I have weird nitpicky opinions on things. I hate that they changed the pick guard.
Mm-hmm.
I like the weird kind of stubby Strat pick guard that they put on the kind of mid-range Pacificas, but they cut off its little nub that goes over the switch.
And again, I think they may be tying into the RevStar, or they may be. It may be a design choice based on thinking that a guitar with a backplate is going to be easier to work with than a guitar with a pickup. And having worked on both, it's a pain having to take a pickup off to rewire things. Or take the strings off, take the pick guard off to rewire things, I mean. So I get that to an extent, and it looks fine.
But
I kind
the
of think, I mean, for a more modern take on a Pacifica, yeah, I look at that and I think Pacifica.
Sure, but even the mid-range ones still have a backplate because the knobs are on the body
That's
directly.
true.
It's just the switch.
Yeah.
But it's okay. I wouldn't spend $3,000 on it, but I'm curious to see if it'll catch on because
Yeah, I'm curious to hear these things for one thing, and I'm curious how it'll catch on. Yes.
I mean the Revstars performing moderate plus people like the Revstar. I want them to
Mm-hmm.
catch on because I think
Yeah.
they're doing something unique here.
Well, and they're creating a buzz for Yamaha that it hasn't had in a long time.
Yes,
And this may be kind of riding that wave, or it may be its own thing. They seem to have, made some interesting choices, whether or not you agree with those choices, but there is going to be a different guitar than the outgoing Pacifica for sure. So, um, I'm a fan of Yamaha guitars. Like, I think they make some amazing stuff, but little bit of a PR nightmare. Like, people just don't think of them when they think of, buying guitars. And I
no,
think Revstar is kind of starting to change that a little bit, but still nowhere near what your big boys are.
for sure. All right, so Yamaha redesigned the Strat, and they got the Pacifica. How would you do it? What's your Strat?
My Strat. Well, the one that I have personally is this awful Frankenstein that I've just basically tried every experiment that I could think of on. So right now it's got the stock pickup surprisingly enough, but it has three rocker switches to activate them, and it has a Graphtec saddles with piezo elements in them, so I can blend in acoustic tones with it. It is probably going to end up with P rails and a Sustainiac in it at some point, but that's my Strat. If I were to redesign the Strat as something that's going to be a Strat, first of all, disclaimer here. Strats are amazing instruments. They're a classic for a reason. They introduced the double cut design. They introduced the comfort carves. They introduced the through body tremolo. I forget what they call them. And those have
Synchronized.
all kind of synchronized. Thank you. And those have all kind of been. They've become the industry standard, really, in some form or another. I mean, that tremolo, especially. I mean, like every, practically every self-contained bridge and tremolo system is a variation on that. Your Floyd Rose, your Wilkinson, yada yada, your Paul Reed Smith tremolo. Like, it has caught on in a major way, even on non-Strat style guitars. Um, that said, it's the stock one, the original Fender one, it's an okay tremolo. I don't like it as much as I like a Jazzmaster trem. I don't like it as much as I like a Bigsby. I probably like it more than I like most of your locking systems because I'm just not a fan of those. Complexity and all. But, so the bridge is fine. I would personally lose the middle pickup. I get that, I mean, it's great to have a middle pickup. It's, in theory, it's exactly where you want your guitar tone to sit. It's got that mid-range bump to it that's going to, make it cut through the mix. It's great when it's mixed with the neck and bridge pickups, but my problem is it gets in my way.
But it's so good. Middle
It
pickup
is
by
so good.
itself. It sounds great. In between
Oh,
tones, I'll
absolutely.
take or leave.
No, I tend to agree. I tend to agree. But see, I would lose the bridge or the neck pickup if I was going to, have a middle pickup because at least that gives you somewhere to strum, somewhere to dig in, and it's just like, yeah, you can try to aim between the pickups and hope for the best on a Strat, but most of the time you'll end up running into a pickup and messing yourself up. At least if you're me. Um, the other thing that a lot of people either love or hate about the Strat is the placement of the volume knob. For better or for worse, it makes it very easy to reach with your fingers, which to me means I usually end up just turning my guitar volume all the way down while I'm trying to solo.
All right, I am finding something for you here that I think it's gonna change your whole perspective on everything. So
Looking forward to it.
this is my one of my favorite guitars of all time. Kita from the band Trico, uh, and trying to find a good picture of this guitar. It is a Strat with no bridge pickup and
Hmm.
only the volume knob in the volume knob spot.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that is the weirdest shredder guitar I've ever seen, and like that's what it looks like to me, anyways. Because like, of course, you always associate that with the bridge humbucker, and there's just no bridge pickup.
There's no
But
bridge pickup.
it's got the perfect knob for those volume swells that everybody loves.
It I think it looks really cool. I'd be tempted to build a replica for myself, mostly because I'm just a huge fan of this guitarist. Uh,
Honestly, I think this is everything that the launch Strat is trying to be.
oh, and it's a hardtail too, so you don't have to deal with
Oh,
the
I couldn't
mediocre
tell. Yeah,
trem.
yeah, yeah. And it's not like that's a big deal. If you don't want to deal with mediocre trem on a Strat, folks, you just tighten the springs down until it's not a trem unit anymore.
Yep.
Or block it out, one or the other. But that said, hardtail bridge does give you, I think, a better sustain through the instrument, better resonance with the wood, that kind of thing. So there's something to be said for that, too. Yeah, no, that looks really cool. I like that.
Uh, yeah, I don't know. The Strat's weird. I feel sad that it's become kind of the default guitar. Like
Yeah,
if you say to someone, "Tell me what a guitar looks like," and they know just like a little bit, they're probably gonna describe a
yeah.
Strat.
Exactly. Yeah, it's become so ingrained in our brain. I mean, anytime anything is electric guitar themed, it's usually a Strat that's being pictured.
Sure.
And it's like we could do so much better. Like,
There's so many cooler things out there. Like
yeah,
I just
even stuff from that era. Like why is not the telly the default? Like everybody plays tellies.
I guess like the association with country probably makes the telly less.
Yeah, but I mean, so it's the Strat has that too, though.
Yeah, but Hendrix didn't play a telly.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if he didn't at some point, but yeah, he's not famous for it for sure.
I mean, that's got to be uncomfortable if you're playing an upside down telly. I don't want to think about that.
I mean, it's got to be uncomfortable if you're playing an upside down anything, but
Sure.
actually, my main thing with playing anything upside down is again the knobs would get in the way.
Yeah.
And I would end up just tweaking stuff I wasn't trying to tweak. But Hendrix managed it. Other folks have done it, maybe not as well as he did, but not my thing, but I appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, there's so many good default guitars out there. I mean, 335, which is kind of like, your quintessential guitar in that it's electric, it's acoustic, you can play jazz on it, you can play country on it, you can play rock on it, you can play, whatever, right? Um,
Yeah, I'm with you there. It's your first guitar is probably not going to be a 335 unless you're a certain kind of weirdo, but everyone's first guitar is a Strat.
well, and part of that is self-perpetuating because Strats are so popular, everybody wants to make cheap versions of them.
Sure. And then because everyone wants to make cheap versions of them, the cheapest guitar on the market tends to be a Strat.
Is a Strat copy, exactly, or a Strat of some, or an official Strat copy.
Yes.
But yeah, that said, the Stratocaster has a unique place in music, and it's got unique tones that it can produce that other guitars can't, and I appreciate it for that. There's just things I would have done differently.
Sure. My biggest gripe, I'm the biggest hater of the five-way switch and the three-way telly switch. I don't want that thing.
Hmm.
It's too flimsy. Even the nice ones, like I feel like I'm gonna break it, and I want the option to turn every pickup I have on or off, at least.
That's interesting to me. I do agree on the you should have an option for every pickup configuration. Um, I find the 5-way and 3-way switches actually to be among the more durable switches you can put on a guitar. Like I've had a lot of problems with like, granted it was cheaper ones, but like the LP style switches just kind of falling out to where they don't really switch properly and things like, and the tips always break on them.
See, I find the opposite for like all the tellies and strats I've had, switch tip always falls off and I lose it. I have bent
Okay,
more than one switch.
that I can see. I can particularly the tele switch tips for some reason they just tend to get lost. Um, and I did put it to be fair. I put an aftermarket switch in my telly, so it's a lot better quality overall, and it does have a Strat style switch tip. If that makes a difference, I'm not sure if it does or doesn't.
I just want a mini toggle or a Jaguar switch or a Mustang switch. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, slider switches are solid. The ones that the ones I find fail on me most are the mini toggles.
Yeah, but they look cool. I'll take a little less durability for them to look cool.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking looking cool though, let's do the old school ridiculously large rocker switches.
Sure. I I am so shocked there hasn't been like a Tysco branded revival. I think they tried it like in like the early 2000s or something and it never really took off.
It, you know, here's my prediction: it's coming because gold foil pickups are a buzzword nowadays, and that's the brand that everybody most associates with gold foil pickups. They'd be stupid not to
I
cash
feel
in
like
on
it
that
would
in
have
some
come
way,
by
shape, or
now.
form.
Like I almost think we're past the quirky like garbage vintage guitar era. Like Jack White has this new telly. Like I don't know what Dan Auerbach is playing these days, but I bet it's more stable than the harmonies that he used to play or whatever. I don't know if we're still in it for a Tysco revival.
Yeah, I agree to disagree. I mean, I would. Part of me would love to see Tysco come back, but another part of me probably would never buy one. So
Yeah, they'd probably
take that as you will.
probably be underspec and a little too expensive and like not quite as weird as you'd want it to be.
Yeah, and they probably mess with stuff they shouldn't mess with. Like they make the pickups just like a mini humbucker with a different top on it or something.
Which is most of the gold foils on the market these days anyway.
Right, right. So, yeah, maybe best to let sleeping dogs lie in that respect. But it would be interesting to see.
Mm-hmm. Uh,
So,
do you have anything else you want to talk about, or you want to kind of wrap up and sign off?
I think honestly, this is a great place to wrap up and sign off. We've hopefully left people with a lot of good information and a lot of bad opinions. And
Sure, and I'll
this
try
has
my
been really
best.
fun.
I'll try my best to make it listenable.
Oh, you'll do a good job. I believe it. So, folks, please let us know what you could think of the new format. I'm liking it quite a bit. It takes the pressure off me to fill space, which is always a good thing. And it's good to give Claire a voice because she's been really good to me since the channel started. She's been faithful, and so shout out.
I will be the professional space filler.
Put that on your resume. All right, folks. Well, good night, good day, whatever time it is for you. We'll see you next time.
Stay beautiful.